Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another out and about video for you. So today, I'm in Ocean Township in New Jersey, which is about halfway up the state if I'm not mistaken, and out toward the east coast. We're on our way to Asbury to go and have a little look at the beach, and so I can say I've been on Jersey Shore, which will be quite funny. But yeah, on the way here, we decided to stop off at Kane Brewing Company, who are one that I've encountered back over in Scandinavia, but I've never actually tried any of their beers, so I thought this would be quite cool. But we'll do as we always do, we'll go in, we'll have a little look around, we'll check out the tap list, we'll try some of the beers, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on what I've tried at the end of the video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Definitely cool to be featuring some New Jersey breweries for you here in the out and about videos, and you'll see quite a few videos filmed on this little trip to the US, so I hope you enjoy them. So let's crack on with this one and see how we get on. Kane Brewing Company in Ocean Township, New Jersey. Alright guys, so yeah, this is the Kane Brewing Company building. So yeah, you can see they've got one of their big American trucks over there, and yeah, you can see it's a lovely day today, like lots of sunshine. It's not too hot though, which is always a good thing for me. You know, Scottish people are not built for the sun. But yeah, when you come in, you've got this little tent that welcomes you, a wee barrel where you can chill as well. I'm guessing they probably use this for a greeter when it's a bit more busy. We're here just about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like good alcoholics and things. So yeah, but they have this lovely area on the side here, which I'm guessing they open up on the weekends and things like that when it's a bit more busy. And you can see that this little container here is obviously a bar that they open up too. But yeah, we're here on one of the quieter days, which to be honest is nicer for filming. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. There you can see the Kane Brewing Company symbol once again. And when you come in, this place is really quite nice and quite snazzy. In fact, you can see lovely kind of modern well lit tap room. There you can see the bar straight ahead. The brewery is just through there. They've got some of the merchandise and things like that. The tap list is here. We'll have a little look at that again in a minute. But yeah, fridges of stuff that you can take away. And yeah, the tap room is pretty long, I have to say. So today they have, oh, it looks like about 16 beers, 16, 17 beers on tap. We've got room for about 22 or something by the looks of the thing there. But yeah, really nice. And if you come up here, you can see this man with his back to you now. This is my Dave. I like it, my Dave.
It's you again. No,
yes.
I'm just kidding.
So yeah, guys, I love this. We're going to film in front of this for one of the tastings, but you are about to see this beer reviewed. So yeah, let's get to that. Alright guys, well, time for our first tasting then here at Kane Brewing in Ocean, New Jersey. So yeah, as I quite often do, I've decided to start with a lager beer because, I enjoy my lagers. It's always a nice way to kind of start off, and then you start moving to, more hoppier and more darker beers a little bit later on. And this one just kind of caught my fancy actually. So yeah, this one is the Letsak 12. It's a Czech blonde lager essentially. When this one poured, it had a lovely finger of a frothy, I would say kind of perfect white head. You can see that it's got a lovely kind of pale golden straw colour, nice kind of steady stream of carbonation going up there, and it looks great, a little bit of a natural haze to it as well. Now remember, the colour of your beer depends on the type of malts that you use. That goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Length of your wort boil is also going to play a role as well. But yeah, this one looks very, very nice, and this is what you would expect from a Letsak. Remember, with Czech lagers, you have the Svetli, the Letsak, the Cherny, and the Tmavy. So the Svetli and Letsak, they tend to be the sort of blonde and amber lagers. The Cherny is the more mahogany one, equivalent to the German Dunkel. Then the Tmavy is the equivalent of the German Schwarzbier. It's the black lager. But yeah, this one pretty much looks the part. And the main reason this one caught my eye was because I haven't seen too many beers outside of the Czech Republic that are called Letsak. So yeah, it was quite cool to just find this one randomly in New Jersey. And Kane, of course, are not so well known for their lagers as far as I know. It's mainly their IPAs and stuff like that you see going abroad. So yeah, I came across this brewery in Kiosk in Copenhagen originally. But yeah, it certainly looks the part. Let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one and see how we go. Yeah, aroma-wise, this one is pretty damn nice. What I often look for in these beers, in these particular German and Czech styles, is you want originality. You want to be able to compare them to what you're actually going to find in Central Europe. And straight away I can say this one smells pretty damn good. For me, the main difference between, for example, the German Helles and the Czech Svetli and Letzaks would be the hops. You know, the Czech hops, the Žatec, the Saps hops are a little bit more kind of spicy and floral than the German ones. And the Czech lagers tend to have a little bit more yeastiness to them and kind of creamy, smooth mouthfeel than their German counterparts. The German ones are a bit lighter and crisp, generally speaking. But you can smell a little bit of that in here with this one. The backbone of the beer is absolutely that fresh kind of white bready bread crust. There's a lovely little bit of a kind of Jacob's cream cracker sort of thing for sure. Very slight woodiness as well. Then you get this kind of fluffy white bready character coming out of the beer. It has got a little bit of this slightly kind of yeasty, like dry, slightly farmhousey kind of note out of it. And as I say, Czech lagers tend to lean a bit more toward the yeasty end of the lager spectrum, so you can absolutely smell that in here. You do get a little touch of like a McVitie's digestive biscuity note out of it too. Cookies, you know, we're in America, we have to use American English. So yeah, definitely there's a little touch of a sweet biscuity sort of thing, a sweet cookie sort of thing in the malt base here, and you would kind of expect that. I find that's a bit more common in German lagers than Czech ones though, in fairness. So the malt base on this one and the yeasty characters for me are pretty damn authentic with what you would find in, you know, Prague or Ostrava or Brno and places like this. You know, it's pretty spot on from that perspective. On the hoppy side of things then, as I said earlier, you do get a slightly higher bit of kind of floral spicy character out of these. Now the Czech hops, the noble hops there are not, they're not so much higher in terms of alpha acid. The Czech Žatec hop tends to be about 4.5% alpha acid, but they just smell that little bit more floral. They've got a bit less grassiness to them, but you get a little touch of earthiness to it. There's a little bit of herbal character, but as I say, in terms of the green component, it's really leaning toward that floral, spicy end of the spectrum, and you do get a little bit of grassy zestiness behind it too. In terms of the fruity sort of things, you're getting what you would expect from this style. You have a nice little bit of, you do have a nice little bit of, you know, you do have a nice little bit of kind of like oily pear, sultana type things going on. And there's a little bit like a fresh green apple or something like that, but mainly for me like sultana and oily pear coming out of this beer. It smells really nice. As I say, the aroma of this one is pretty damn authentic for what I would want from one of these beers in the Czech Republic itself. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one and see how we get on. So this beer is simply called Letzak, 12 degrees, 12 gravity. It would be 12 with a little degree circle with it. But yeah, 4.5% Czech Letzak. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål, cheers, na zdraví. That's pretty nice. I seem to be finding with these American lagers, they're very good and very close in terms of the flavour profile, but as you might expect, the mouthfeel is slightly different, and it's probably just due to the local water profile. A lot of American lagers that I've tried tend to be a bit wetter than what you'll find in Czech and Germany and so on. And I'm feeling that with this one. That's what we had at Source Brewing the other day. The lager was really pretty much spot on in terms of the flavour profile. It got more and more authentic as you went on with it. This one is more authentic in the impact, I would say, but yeah, the mouthfeel is definitely a little bit wetter than what you'll find over in Czech. But still, this is a very nice lager beer, this one. I will say that, thumbs up to them, and that's what you want. I want authenticity with these styles, so happy enough with this. Let's break it down though and describe it a wee bit more in depth. It gives you everything you want from the style. So, middle third of your palate, the backbone of the beer is that lovely, fresh, white bready, bread crusty character. As you move further forward, there's a little teeny bit of woodiness in that base. On top of that, a wee bit of Jacob's cream cracker, but then you definitely get a little bit more of a kind of brown bready type note. There is a layer of a kind of more wholemeal brown bready character to this one. You've also got a little bit of, you've got white bread sitting above that, and then yeah, you get the little bit of sweetness. It's a very layered middle third of your palate in this one. The bread has a little bit of density to it, which is quite nice actually. The malty character in this beer is really well done. I'd be curious as to whether they're using American malts in here and using the Czech methods for treating them, if you like. That would kind of make sense, because it does, the bready character does taste a little bit sweeter, and I've always found that American bread is a bit sweeter than European bread, but I think that's just the American palate generally. It is sweeter than the European palate. So yeah, as I say, bread crust, cracker, brown bread, white bread. On top of that, you start to get some of the more biscuity kind of cookie flavours. It's like there's a little circle in the middle of your palate with this one. In the dead centre, you've got this really concentrated, oily, biscuity sort of thing. That will, of course, be the concentration of your alcohol. The alcohol always comes out in the middle of the palate. But then as you move out toward the edges of your tongue, you get the more grainy side of the biscuit, the more grainy side of the kind of McVitie's digestive sort of thing. Don't know how good a reference that is for Americans, but that's how I always interpret it. But yeah, that's the middle third of your palate. The back third of your palate, and remember the trends you often get with beer, the sweeter flavours will come out further forward, the more dry and bitter flavours will come out further back on the palate. And the back third of your palate, you're always going to get similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, but they come out at different intensities, and then you've got the yeasty notes on top. So yeah, back third of your palate, the bread crust is a little bit drier, the brown bready layer is a little bit taller and more airy, the white bready layer again is a little bit more tall and airy, and you can feel some of the drier aspects of the biscuit just creeping over the top of this, and then you've got the yeasty notes coming out of this beer. And as I say, Czech lagers are more yeasty leaning than their German counterparts. So yeah, the yeasty note in this beer, you can feel that it's got this nice, dense, sweet brown bready character to it. It feels as if it's wrapped in like a little bit of honeycomb or a little bit of biscuit or something like that. And yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is really quite nice. And definitely the flavour on that back third of the palate is taller. Then as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it condenses down and squashes together, and that is quite nice. Yeah. Hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, definitely a little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward, it's a little touch herbal, and you can feel the more kind of floral, aromatic, spicy character on the front corners of your palate. It does feel like it's Czech. It does feel like it's Czech hops in this one, but again, it feels the green component feels a little bit wetter than what I've had before. It might be, but then again, you have to remember, most of my experiences with Czech hops will come in Pilsner beers. And these Letsnaks are always a lower IBU than the Letsak and the Svetlis are always a lower IBU than the Pilsners. These are usually about 20, the Pilsners are about 30 IBUs. But yeah, round the front curve of your palate you get that nice, wet, leafy, grassy sort of thing. Wet, freshly cut grass. Then the front third of your palate, you've got the fruity side of the beer. So the base is, of course, the bread crust, the white bread, then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. And then, yeah, you have the fruity notes in there. And the fruity notes are what we picked up in the aroma. You've got a little bit of sultana in there, you've got a little bit of an oily pear, and then maybe just a little touch of like gooseberry further forward. And a little touch of gooseberry further forward, and maybe a wee touch of fresh green apple as well. But in terms of what you'd expect from a Letsak, this is quite nice. It's a very clean Letsak, and if you go to Czech and drink these beers, you will find the ones that you'll find in the little pivovarnas are just a little bit more raw than this. This one's obviously quite refined. That's the interesting thing about it, but it is nice. It is very nice, this one. If you like a German Helles, you'll enjoy this. It is a little bit, the more that I drink of it, other than the hoppy character, the malt base is a bit more like a German Helles, I would say. But it's quite dense in its malty character too. So mouthfeel-wise, for me, this one is kind of mid to top end of light-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It's got a little bit of oiliness to it, this one. You can feel the beer is very clean. IBU wise, as we said earlier, it's about 20-ish IBUs, which is normal for the style. The malt base, as I said, has a bit of dryness underneath, a bit of smoothness in the middle, then a bit of sweetness on top. And yeah, the way that goes together is nice, and the fruity character is quite oily. But I think that's a really nice introduction to Kane Brewing here. First, I think we're going to do 3 beers when we're here. But yeah, this is pretty damn nice, I have to say. So this was the Letzak 12 degrees, a 4.5% Czech style Letzak lager. So yeah, let's go on to our second tasting. I'll catch you guys in just a second. Cheers. Alright guys, so let's have a little look at what they've got on tap today. So you can see over here, we'll start on the left and work our way over to the right. So you've got a couple of different IPAs and things like that here. Head High, just listed as an IPA, Sneak Box American Pale Ale, Overhead, which is an Imperial, Party Wave, another IPA, Sea Summit, which is a West Coast, I love my West Coasters, Fresh Hot Coat, another IPA, a few more things here, Boardwalk Slice, which is an IPA, Cloud Cover Belgian Style Wheat Ale, Turtle's Board, which is an IPA, and if you move over a little bit to the other side, we have the Aloha Shirt, which is an IPA with pineapple, coconut and lactose, could be quite interesting. Dropping Fruit PTC, I'm not sure what that stands for, I think that's just the, yeah, it's just a little list of the adjuncts there. The Barley's Wooden Cleat Amberana, which sounds very interesting, I love my American barley wines. 365 Anniversary Ale, a blend of a Belgian kind of quad type beer with a bit of an Imperial Stout. Letzak 12 degrees, a Czech style lager. Then the Monmouth Gold, which is a Munich style Helles. Then they've got Epic Overhead, which is a triple IPA. I've heard that's one of their kind of staples actually, so we might need to try that. And then they've also got the Fresh Cherry 2023 Harvest, and that is a cask ale, because you can see they've got the proper lager taps and things. Which is nice to see the sort of Czech style lager taps. Then they've got basically flip caps behind that, but you can see over here they have actually got the proper old school cask tap as well for the lambic type beer, which is cool. So yeah, that's a really nice list of stuff here at Kane Brewing, a good variety of different beers actually, so quite happy with that tap list. Yeah guys, so just next to the bar you can actually get a really nice view of the brewery here, so I'll just try and find a little bit that's not too light affected. You can see they've got a huge barrel aging program here, so you can see huge wall of stuff there, and I'm not sure how well you're going to see it, but you can see there's more barrel aged stuff through the back there, but there you can see the brew kit and things like that, and some of the fermentation vessels. There's 2 guys up on the brew kit there just now, and then they've got another big vessel there. So yeah, pretty impressive, the kind of volume and things. You can see some of the kegs here too, but yeah, really nice actually, really cool to have a little insight into the brewery side of things. And yeah, you've also got your tap list of stuff over here once again. So yeah, that's that. The Field and Oak sour project as well, which seems quite interesting. So yeah, that's a little look at the brew kit for you too. Interesting stuff. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 2 then here at Kane Brewing. So the second beer that we're going to have a little look at is the style that this brewery is best known for, the different types of IPA, and this one is a New England Hazy. So this is one of their core beers. This is called Overhead. Comes in at 8.2% ABV. As you can see from the appearance, it's a New England Hazy, and this one is hopped with Amarillo, Columbus, Centennial and Simcoe. So yeah, we know all of these hops quite well. All 4 of them are American. They all sit around the kind of 12% alpha acid range. Amarillo's going to give you this lovely big oily orange kind of character. Columbus is well known for its kind of big spicy floral type notes, very distinctive. Centennial for me is usually quite a sharp lemony type citrus, and then Simcoe is going to give you your softer kind of passion fruity notes. But it looks like, from what they're saying, that the Columbus hop is used as the bittering hop in this one, but we'll come to that a wee bit later on. And it says it's also got a little bit of imported Pilsner and crystal malt in it, so they're using a little bit of Czech and maybe German. Well, crystal is German, but they're using a wee bit of German and maybe some Czech malt in this one too. But anyway, appearance-wise, as you'd expect from the style, this one yeah, this one is what you'd expect. Lovely kind of bright yellow, golden sort of mango juice colour. Remember again, the colour of your beer depends on what type of malts and things you use. When it comes to New England hazes like this, the level of haziness is always interesting. So you can see this one, if I put my hands behind the glass, you can see it's pretty damn opaque. The level of haziness in these beers depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That varies from brewery to brewery and of course from beer to beer. When this beer poured, it had a nice finger or so of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head. One or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head, and the head is actually, the kind of foamy layer on top of the head is actually retaining quite nicely. But you can see some medium bubbles on the surface of the liquid, and it gets a bit foamier the further up that you go. But yeah, appearance-wise, nothing really particularly surprising about this one when you consider what style it is, but it does look pretty damn good, I have to say. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the nose of this one then and see what it's all about. Yeah, this is quite nice. As I've said to you before, when it comes to New England hazies, there are kind of 6 ways that these beers can lean, or maybe more accurately, there are 6 elements you should think about with the malty yeasty side of things. So you've got the farmhousey yeasty part of the beer, you've got the kind of rye-lean and grainy side of things, which is a bit more common in American brewed IPAs, along with farmhousiness. You don't find this so much in European brewed New England IPAs. But then you've got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also sweetness. And for me, this beer is actually really quite well balanced, and it smells as if it's quite barley malt leaning. And you can, it's interesting for me too, because you can smell the German malts in this. You can smell the crystal. Crystal has this really distinctive bready character. Some of the German brewed IPAs I've had have been really interesting, but there's just something, you know, a bit European about this beer. It's lovely. It smells really nice. So the backbone of this beer, fresh white bready bread crust, definitely some wholemeal brown bread in there, a little bit of a woody and crackery undertone to it as well. So yeah, a little bit of a woody, crackery sort of thing. Definitely a wee touch of like wholemeal brown bread as well. Fluffy white bread. And then at the back of the nose, in the top of the back of the nose, you definitely get a little bit of you absolutely get a little bit of a kind of wheaty bitiness in there. So this beer does have a good little bit of that to it. But I'm also getting some nice kind of creamy oaty type character as well. And yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is really very, very nice. Yeah, lovely blend of things going on in the malt base here. It's great. You do get a little touch of sweetness out of this one, and with this beer being like 8.2% ABV, you'd kind of expect that. So yeah, lovely big. You get a good little bit of the oaty creaminess in there, and as I've often said, oats are usually a good indicator of how fresh your New England IPA is. This one is actually a completely fresh keg because I ordered this and then she had to go and change the keg. So yeah, that was quite nice. That's quite a nice thing. But yeah, on top of that, as I say, you've got a little bit of sweetness, like a sort of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing, and that's quite a common thing to find in the heavier New Englands. You will get a wee bit of sweetness out of them just because of the alcohol content. But yeah, the hoppy side of things is quite nice in this one. Now, one thing you have to consider with IPAs is that you have 3 types of hopping. So let's use a 90-minute wort boil as our model for this. So in the first hour of the wort boil, you've got early edition hopping, which gives you mainly bitterness and translates to a deep and dank aroma and flavour. Late edition hopping, which is in the last half hour of the wort boil, that usually gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma, and that translates to quite a bright flavour in the green component. So yeah, you're definitely getting a little bit of that in this one. And then of course dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, that's all about flavour and aroma, and again that gives you quite a bright, juicy aroma. New England IPAs tend to rely on late edition and dry hopping, but West Coast IPAs use all 3, which is why they're deeper, danker and more kind of bitter. But yeah, New England IPAs always have this very bright green component. But with this one, you're definitely getting a little tiny touch of earthiness in there, but very bright green component. I'm not getting too much of the kind of spiciness that you'd often get from Columbus, actually, but you can smell a little bit of it in the top of the nose, which blends in well with the wheat. but then the fruity side of the beer is pretty much exactly what you'd expect considering the hops that are in here. You've got the lovely kind of soft passion fruity and juicy mango character from the Simcoe. You can get quite a lot of it, but this beer really does lean more toward the citrusy end of the spectrum for me. And when you've got Amarillo and the big oily orange, and the Centennial and the big kind of sharp lemony character, to me that's to be expected. I mean, yeah, the way that this beer goes together in that sense is really, really nice. So it gets a big thumbs up from me from that perspective. Yeah, aroma-wise, this is pretty damn good, I have to say. So thumbs up from me. Everything you'd expect. But I think it's about time that we have a little taste of this one and see what we think. So yeah, this is the Overhead, an 8.2% New England Hazy, Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA, one of the core beers here at Kane Brewing in Oceanside, New Jersey. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that is pretty damn solid, I have to say. It has got quite a bit, this is a slightly more bitter New England, and it has got quite a bit of a wheaty bite to it as well, but it's a nice beer for sure. Yeah, definitely a more bitter, one of the more bitter examples of the New England style I've had in recent times, but it works, it does work. Let's break the beer down then and describe it a wee bit more in depth for you. So the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely quite dry white bready grainy bread crust to this. Further forward on that middle third of the palate, you get little bits of wood, and then above that Jacob's cream cracker. But then you have this really dense kind of brown bready character, then a white bready character, and then the wheat is sort of densifying out the white bread in there. So you've got this really dense mix of different bready layers in the middle third of your palate there. Above that, you do start to get a little bit of the kind of oaty creaminess. And the more that you drink of this beer, and the more that your palate adjusts to this one, you start to get more of the kind of sweeter side of things coming out of it. So yeah, it's a really interesting. It is really quite interesting just how this pieces together, actually. So yeah, for me, the malty side of things, the kind of oaty notes you get out of this are quite creamy. A little bit drier as you move out toward the edges of the palate, but in the dead centre of your tongue you get this little circle there, which is quite. You get this little circle in the dead centre of your tongue, which has a wee bit of a kind of oily. It's got a little bit of a kind of oily Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch sort of thing, and that is of course the alcohol with an 8.2%, or that's what you'd expect, to be honest. But yeah, I think that covers what we need to say about the middle third of your palate. As I've said before, the back third of your palate is going to give you similar flavours, but just different intensities. So the bread crust is a bit drier, the cracker is a bit drier too. Then above that, you feed the wholemeal brown bready layer, which is a bit lighter and more airy. And then above that, you get the white bready layer, which again is lighter and more airy. Then you've got the nice kind of wheaty, bitey character there. And the wheaty, bitey character in the back third of your palate with this beer actually has quite a bit of prominence. It's really nice, and then above all of that you get some of the yeasty characters out of the beer. So for me, the yeasty side of this beer, it's like a dry white bread, a little bit of a kind of honeycomb wrapping around it as well, but quite a dense bready character. But definitely, again, back third of your palate, the flavour is taller, and as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, that's really nice how that pieces together. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things, then the way that this goes together is quite interesting. This is definitely one of the more bitter examples of a New England that I've come across recently. Back corners of the palate, definite little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward with this one on the sides of your palate. You definitely get more of a kind of floral aromaticity, and yeah, you definitely get a little bit of a more kind of floral aromaticity out of this one, and also a really nice kind of like, you do get quite a kind of floral spicy note to this one, the distinctive spicy characteristics of the Columbus. So yeah, that really comes out of this one. This is a more bitter New England IPA for sure. I don't know, you get a bit of deep pine resin to it, but mainly for me this is quite spicy actually. But round the front curve of your palate you get a little bit of a lighter grassy sort of thing. It has got a wee bit of zestiness to it, which is nice. So yeah, nice little bit of a kind of grassy zestiness in there. And then the front third of your palate is of course all about the fruity notes from the beer. But yeah, the base of that front third of your palate, again a bit of bread crust, white bread for me, then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And for me, this one is quite, yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, it's really quite, you get a bit, you do get a little bit of an almost grapefruity note out of this one, but yeah, it's actually quite like a stronger passion fruit, and that's going to be the Simcoe that's giving you that. The Simcoe is responsible for all the more tropical flavours in this. So you get a more pungent passion fruit, and it kind of mellows out and becomes a little bit like a ripe mango as you reach the middle of that front third of your palate. And as you pass into the front half of the front third of your tongue, it's all about the citrusy side of things. So you can feel that nice big oily orange that you'd expect of Amarillo, and right behind the front tip of your tongue, it's all about the kind of sharp lemony characters of the yeah, it's all about the sharp lemony characters of the Centennial there. But yeah, this is quite an interesting New England hazy for me. Definitely more bitter, and yeah, definitely a little bit more bitter, but still quite creamy in a sense. So yeah, I like that about this one. Really interesting beer actually, and I always like this when you go to a brewery to try one of their core beers on tap at source. So yeah. But I think we can move on and have a little look at the mouthfeel with this one then to round off. So for me, it's kind of pushing, it's kind of bottom end of full bodied for me, this one. Carbonation is very, very smooth. It's quite oily and has a little bit of slickness to it, I would say. Yeah, so it's a little bit oily and more slick. And as I say, it's a slightly higher IBU beer, this one. I'd say this is maybe about 50-ish. Could be pushing 60 IBUs, and that's the use of the Columbus and the Whirlpool that will be doing that. So you do have a bit more bitterness to this beer. The malt base has a bit of dryness underneath, a bit of density in the middle, and a little bit of smoothness and sweetness on top. And then, of course, you've got a lovely little bit of... you do have a lovely little bit of that juicy, fruity character. This one's quite an oily, fruity character, a bit of light tropical, and a bit more of a kind of oily, citrusy sort of thing coming out of it. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really, really very nice, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, this is a nice beer, this one, and as I say, cool to try the style that this brewery are best known for, as far as I know, on source at tap. So yeah, this was the Overhead 8.2% New England Hazy Imperial Double IPA here at Kane Brewing. I think we're going to do one more, and then we'll finish off there. So yeah, catch you guys in just a second with something else. Alright guys, so as is often the case with American breweries, they've got a little bit of merchandise that you can buy. So yeah, they've got hoodies, different colours of t-shirts. It's just been their 12th anniversary very recently. You can get your hippie tie-dye shirt as well, your kind of burgundy, your white, and yeah, they've got their old school German style growlers, your sour beer glasses. I think you would call this one on the right a crowler probably. 12th anniversary glasses. You can get your beach towel because we are very close to the beach. You've got your kind of can-shaped glasses, which are pretty cool, I have to say. You've got your lager tankards, which are very nice. You've got your duffel bag, your IPA tulips, I would say, your Teku glasses, your beer cool box, your baseball caps because it is America, an American essential, the coffee thing, your Hefeweizen glasses too. And then, yeah, I think this is their kind of sour beer project, Field and Oak. and these are t-shirts for that. And of course, you have your flannel shirt if you want to be a lumberjack. So yeah, prices of these are over here as well. So you're talking about $20 or so for the shirts. Glasses are about $10, $12, just depends. So yeah, there's an idea of the prices and stuff there for you. But a nice little selection of merchandise here at Kane Brewing Company. So yeah, that is pretty nice, I have to say. Alright guys, so if you come over to this little corner just next to the main door here, you can see they've got some of the rewards here, which is kind of cool. So they won the 2016 World Beer Cup for a night to end all dawns. So yeah, it's interesting. Gold medal as well for the Great American Beer Festival 2014. A night to end all dawns. Another one from the National Homebrew Competition. A silver one here as well for the stout. 2016 Best New Brewery in New Jersey, or Best Brewery in New Jersey, sorry. Another one down here for the A Night to End All Dawns. The 2015 Best Brewery in New Jersey again. 2018 Silver Award for A Night to End All Dawns. I'm getting the feeling that I need to try A Night to End All Dawns. This could be quite interesting. But yeah, quite a few awards here. So yeah, maybe we need to get a can or a bottle or whatever of A Night to End All Dawns. But yeah, some of the awards on display here at Kane Brewing. Alright guys, well, time for our third and final tasting then here at Kane Brewing Company. So we're actually going to have a look at one of my favourite styles. For those of you who've watched the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I am a sucker for the big brown sugary beers. Scotch ales, quadruples, doppelbocks, barley wines. I love the big brown sugary bastards. And there was one on tap today, so, you know, couldn't resist that. So the last beer that we're going to have a look at is a barrel-aged version of Wooden Cleat. This is a strange thing for me because in American English a cleat is like a football boot. It's like a shoe with studs on it, essentially. But yeah, this one comes in at 12.8% ABV. It's a barley wine, and it's actually a blend of two barley wines. So one of the barley wines in this has been aged in Woodhouse Kentucky bourbon barrels, and then the second one has been aged in Amburana wood barrels. So Amburana wood comes from like Peru, Bolivia, Brazil. It's a South American wood essentially, but the Brazilians, I believe the most common use of this wood is that the Brazilians will use it to age cachaça. And cachaça is a Brazilian spirit that's quite similar to white rum. It's almost their version of white rum actually. So yeah, this should be a really quite interesting one, a blend of two barrel-aged barley wines. So yeah, you can see that this beer, well, when it poured first off, I would say that it was like a half or a quarter finger of a frothy, sort of fawn, very light beige coloured head. You can see that this beer has a really nice dark chestnut stained mahogany type colour to it. Again, the colour of your beer depends mainly on what type of malts that you use, but when it comes to barley wines, you do very often need to think about the length of the wort boil that goes into these, and the barrel aging is going to play a role as well. But yeah, the colour of this one would indicate to me that it's had a bit of a longer wort boil, but we'll be able to tell that from the flavour because you get all these nice leathery brown sugary notes. The barrel will no doubt play a role as well. But yeah, not too much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. One or two bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, but yeah, this was a very small pour. This must be like 150 millilitres or something. I still have no idea about the American fluid ounces, or freedom units as I like to call them. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one and see how we get on. Nothing particularly surprising about the appearance of this beer when you consider what style it is. Yeah, aroma wise, this is pretty damn good. This is right up my street. So you can smell the American oak in this one, as I've said in many reviews before. American oak is very, very smooth. It gives you a little bit of vanilla, and of course you can smell the very bright brown sugars of American bourbon. Bourbon for me always has a bit more of a bite to it than Scotch whisky does. It's just not quite as... It smoothens out later on and it sweetens up a little bit later on, but I just don't find bourbon as smooth as Scotch whisky. but the corn, it uses a bit of corn, and I think that's what gives it the bite. So you can smell that American bourbon brown sugar in there, and Dave has just informed me that the definition of bourbon is that it's actually distilled within Kentucky, which is anything else that has to be, that is like bourbon. It has to be called, for example, Tennessee whiskey or something like this. It has to be distilled in Kentucky for it to be classified as bourbon, which I didn't know. So every day is a school day. But yeah, you can smell the sort of more dry and herbally nature of the cachaça and the amburana wood in this one. You can definitely smell a little bit of that kind of white rummy cachaça type thing out of this. So I'm wondering if the amburana wood barrel they have is an ex-cachaça barrel. So the woody character in this is really interesting, but I have to say it's taken a wee bit of time for my nose to adjust and pick up that amburana note. But above the woody and spirit characteristics in this one, you get a lovely sort of like, it's like a brandy or cognac soaked brown fruit loaf bread kind of thing that comes out of this one. It's like a very boozy cake. A lot of people might be tempted to say there's chocolatey notes to this, but for me it's more like a dry cocoa nib that I'm getting. And there are some really leathery brown sugary characters to this one, which is usually an indicator of a very long wort boil. Most barley wines will undergo a wort boil of say 6 hours or something like that, but of course the longer you boil the wort, the more leathery and sweet character you're going to get out of it. So this one does have a big leathery brown sugary note. And you've got the dryness under there and all the woody character, but at the same time you do get that big sweet, you do get that little bit of treacle molasses type note to it. You get a little bit of the biscuity character as well, and you do get a bit of that straight up sweet kind of caramel. But it's a really interesting one, this. The more that you smell of this beer, the more you're getting the amburana wood and the cachaça out of this. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'm not familiar with Portuguese, but anyway. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things with this beer, now, barley wine is actually the big brother of the double IPA. So these beers do actually have quite a little bit of hops in them, but if this has been barley, much of the hop character is going to have dropped out of it. And at the same time, the barrel is going to, the amburana barrel is quite a powerful element. Scotch whisky barrels do the same. They overpower a lot of the hoppy characteristics. You do still get a little bit of like earthiness out of this one. You can pick up little hints of like floral aromaticity and little bits of like, I would say, grassy zestiness. And when it's an American barley wine, hops like Williamette, Chinook, Cascade, a little bit of Columbus sometimes as well. Those are the kind of favourites to use in these ones. You do get a little bit of that out of this. I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of Chinook, Cascade, and maybe something else in there. You can smell a little bit of that just from the nature of the slight piney resin and floral notes you get out of it. But the fruity character is kind of what you'd expect. There's a lot of prune in there. There's a lot of like datey character as well. Prunes and dates definitely, as I say. Big oily pear, sultanas for sure, dry white green grapes rather than the dried purple grapes, which would be raisins. You do get a little bit of like an oily black currant in there, but the fruity character in this one really leans toward that more dry side of the spectrum. It's, dates, prunes, oily pears, sultanas, and like I say, a little bit of a black curranty character coming out of this one. Aroma-wise, this is pretty damn good. I think it's about time that we have a taste of this one, but this is going to be pretty special. I can tell you that from the aroma and from experience. So yeah, this one, if I remember the name correctly, it's the barrel-aged wooden plate, 12.8% ABV, a blend of 2 barrel-aged barley wines, Woodhouse Kentucky bourbon, and amburana wood, which I heavily suspect is for Brazilian cachaça. So get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. That's pretty damn good. As if I was tasting this blind, just from the flavour, I would probably guess that this was a cognac barrel-aged barley wine. It's kind of interesting that, because the cachaça is giving you this more kind of, pardon me, kind of herbally note, and sort of like brandy soaked bread type character, and the bourbon is giving you the straight up brown sugar. And it seems that when you cross these, it's like a cognac. It reminds me of cognac barrel aging a little bit. And I have had one or two grappa barrel aged barley wines from Italy as well, and those are really interesting. So this one's kind of like that actually. I have had an Amburana barrel aged imperial stout before, but this is the first time I am having a more brown sugary beer with Amburana wood in it. But it's this is pretty interesting. It really is. This is what I like after 3,000 odd beer reviews, is stuff that's going to test my palate, and this beer does that. But generally speaking, it is what you'd expect of a barley wine. It's a big brown sugary bastard that's going to fuck your day in the best way, put it that way. But yeah, the backbone of the beer, you've got a lovely mix of wood in there, so you get the smoother American oak, which has the wee bit of vanilla, and then as you go into the aftertaste, particularly further back on the palate, you're going to get the more dry, herbally Amburana character out of this one. So further forward on that middle third of your palate, you're going to get the layer above the spirit layer is the American bourbon sugars, and it has a bit of vanilla in there as well from the American oak. But further back, you're getting the more herbally Amburana and the kind of like white rummy, the young white rummy spirity type characters. Above all of that, you get a little bit of there's a little touch of like a rye bread crust in there, and you get a layer of like a kind of highly caramelized rye bread, and then a more really dense, sweet, like brandy soaked fruit loaf bready character that comes out of this one, and that's really interesting. So yeah, the way that goes together is really nice. You get this really dense bourbon soaked, brandy soaked, like brown bready, almost like fruit cakey type layer. Above all of that, you get the brown sugars, and this one isn't overly leathery. It's actually like really dense and very sweet. So I'm not sure. I don't think this beer has had too much of a longer wort boil. It is really quite sweet. It's not dry enough, I think, to be too long a wort boil. So big, dense brown sugars in there. Above that, you do get a little touch of like a treacle molasses type thing. And in the very dead centre of your palate, you get this little circle there where the brown sugars kind of accumulate, and it's really, really sweet. As you move out toward the edges of the palate, it's very kind of like McVitie's Digestive Biscuity, but the brown sugars just get brighter and brighter, and you do get one or two little nutty flavours that push their way out into the aftertaste with this one. But it's a lovely, lovely barley wine. And the two types of barrel just go together really interestingly. The back third of your palate is really quite similar in this one. The woody character and the base is a little bit drier. The spirit layer leans a bit more towards the cachaça. Then you've got this big airy kind of brown bready type character there, which is nice. Then above that you've got the drier, kind of brown sugary type characters out of this one. So you get a drier, you do get a bit of that more leathery brown sugar just sitting on top of the back third of the palate. Then it's all about the yeasty characters coming out of this beer. So for me, the yeasty character is like a really dense brown bready note, wrapped in this kind of honeycomb type flavour with a wee bit of like nutty and woody character coming out of it. This is really quite interesting. I do like how all of that pieces together in this one, but definitely back third of your palate, the flavour is taller. As you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it kind of condenses down a wee bit. When it comes to the green component of the beer, there isn't too much to report in this one, because obviously the hoppy character will have largely dropped out of this one. Teeny bit of earthiness, a little bit of herbal character. As you come toward the front corners of your palate, it's a little bit more floral and aromatic. Round the front curve of the tongue, a little bit lighter, a little bit more grassy, but generally speaking very oily and very smooth. It's not too much to report in that sense. But let's round off the flavour part with the front third of your palate and the fruity side of things. So the front third of your palate Again, you've got the woody character, which is more smooth American oak, bourbon for sure. You get the smooth American oak with a lot of vanilla, then the bourbon sugars on top of that. The brown bready character, the kind of rye bready notes, and then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy, fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So it's kind of what I was expecting it would be from the aroma. At the back of that front third of your palate, there is a little bit of a kind of pruny note. Underneath that, you've got a little bit of a date and sultana type flavour. As you move further forward toward the middle of that front third of your palate, it's quite, it is kind of quite oily and peary. And as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, it's got a really nice, like black curranty note to it, and that kind of lingers into the aftertaste. It really leans more toward the kind of dry, fruity characters of this beer, but I think it's great. I really like how this pieces together. And yeah, you do get a little sharper blackberry note out of this one on the impact. But it's a beautiful, beautiful tasting beer, this actually. I love an American barley wine. This has been really nice to try. But yeah, let's round off then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. For me, definitely full-bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth. It's a big, oily beer, this one, and that's exactly what you want from a barley wine. IBU-wise, a bit hard to say with this one. I don't think this beer it's not going to blow the head off you in terms of bitterness, but it does have a really nice kind of dry sweetness to it. Yeah, it does have a really nice kind of drier sweetness to it, which I think is great, and that lingers into the aftertaste. You have got this kind of herbal dryness to the beer too. But IBU-wise, I think this beer is probably 20-ish IBUs at the absolute most. The malt, as we said, it's got a bit of grain in it, a bit of dryness from the wood underneath, nice kind of spirity layer, bready characteristics, brown sugars, really oily and sweet. Then the fruity character for me is quite oily, but it does lean toward the drier end of the spectrum. But this is a really, really nice beer, this one, and I have enjoyed this. I just wish they'd got a little bit of a bigger pour out of this one. But yeah, I think that's going to conclude our tastings then here at Kane Brewing Company. I'll see if I can get something to take away as well, but yeah, I think that's everything for just now. But yeah, this was the barrel-aged wooden cleat, 12.8% barley wine blend. One of them, Woodhouse, Kentucky, bourbon barrel-aged barley wine. The other one, an Amburana aged barley wine. Really interesting stuff. Comes across very like a cognac barrel-aged barley wine, in fact, or a grappa barrel-aged barley wine. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. This is a nice way to kind of round off. But I'll catch you guys in a little second, and I'll give you my final thoughts on our time here at Kane Brewing Company. Alright guys, well that's my time over then here at Kane Brewing Company in Ocean Township in New Jersey. So yeah, we had a nice 2 or 3 hours just kind of sitting in here. The guys behind the bar were very, very nice, and yeah, it was really enjoyable. So out of the 3 beers we tried, we had the Letzak Lager. For me, that was really quite interesting because that beer cost $9 American, and yeah, compared to the IPA, which we tried afterwards, which was a double, that was only $7. And I just didn't understand that kind of price discrepancy, to be honest with you. But it might be a difference between America and Europe. Obviously, in Europe, you have to import all the hops from Australia, New Zealand, America, and so on. But yeah, to be honest, $9 for a Czech-style Letzak Lager was pretty damn expensive. I thought that was a bit overkill, to be honest with you. You know, $6 or $7 would have been a more respectable price for that, to be honest with you. But that said, the Czech Lager was really nice. I did enjoy that. The Overhead New England Double was really nice. A more bitter take on the double style, in fact, which I really quite enjoyed. And I'll need to have a look at some of their cans and do some sit-down reviews, because that will be the very first time that I've actually tried any Kane Brewing Company beers. But the barley wine was absolutely lovely. For a little pour, yeah, $6 or $7. Seems kind of about right. I'm still not familiar with the American measurements, of course, so I'm not sure how much in the way of millilitres I drank. But yeah, the quality of the beer here was really quite good. The criticism I would have of Kane Brewing and their tap room is that they need to offer like some kind of tasting flight or halves. To me, it's just not really acceptable to only offer like, you know, full 0.4 litres or 0.5 litres and things. If you're going to be a tap room and tasting room, you really need to have lights and halves and things like this, because people come along, they want to try as many different beers as they can. That's how it is in the craft beer world, and that's where Kane Brewing falls down, is by not offering you that chance to have little half tasters and things. But yeah, quality of the beer is the most important thing. This brewery really shine in that area, but yeah, they need to have a little think about the sizes and stuff that they're doing in the tap room. That would be my 2 cents on the on Kane Brewing. But yeah, we're filming this one just at the very end of August 2023. That might change in the months ahead. But yeah, let's leave it there. Once again, thank you for watching my out and about videos and beer reviews and things like this. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This was Kane Brewing Company in Ocean Township in New Jersey, in the northeastern US. Till the next time, Slange, Skull, cheers. Check out my social media, check out Kane Brewing Company social media, and I'll see you guys again very, very shortly. Ciao just now.